Hey everybody, it's Gypsy, and I am already beginning to prepare for Thanksgiving. So, what I am doing is making applesauce, which I am going to freeze until Thanksgiving. Today's October 4th. In my family, when I make pork chops or pork roast, I always serve applesauce with it. So, what I did, my one batch in September, I had made pork chops, so I made some applesauce to go with it. I made enough that there would be leftovers, put that in the freezer. And then Sunday, I made pork roast, and I did the same thing, because I'm going to save these leftovers for Thanksgiving. I have my last batch of apples here that I'm going to turn into applesauce and put it right in the refrigerator, in the freezer, before it gets eaten. Because I noticed that happened. Anyway, that's okay. So I'm going to give you just a quick rundown how I do that. It's so easy to make applesauce. It's not even funny. So anyways, in this batch, I am using half Gala and half Golden Delicious. I have about 12 apples here total. Now, if you want really chunky applesauce, which I do sometimes, make your, when you cut them up, after you, I use my peeler here for apples and potatoes, stuff like that. I peel them first, and then after I cord them, I chop them up. So if I want a chunkier sauce, I do my chunks bigger, but this time I did them on the smaller side, and my pot is about yay full. Okay, so I just throw them all in my pot. What I do next is I add some water. So I have some water here, and again, I don't really measure anything. So let's see, that's about, I'll give you an estimate of how much I put in. Yeah, this is about a cup of water I put in there. Okay. So I'm going to turn my burner on, I'd say about medium. Okay. I'm going to add my sweetener now. I will use anything from, let's see, I've used honey to sweeten my applesauce. I've used real maple syrup. Making maple syrup in the county I live in is a huge thing. So I'll use that. Or right now, I will use raw sugar. What I won't use is granulated white overprocessed sugar. I have stopped using that, and I only use these three that I mentioned. That's how I sweeten anything. I have been pre-diabetic for years. My doctor just told me last week I'm no longer pre-diabetic. I'm not even diabetic. He said my A1C looks great. It's the only thing I can attribute it to. So I'm going to add some sugar. Again, do this to taste, however sweet you like yours. I like to start out with just a bit, okay? I put that in there. I'm going to stir this around. Now, I'm going to put a lid on here, except I forgot to get my lid out. But the reason I put a lid on here is because I don't want all my liquid to evaporate out. I want to keep this more on the softer side. If you want it thicker, leave the lid off. So I'm just going to stir this around. I might, just for the sake of time, put my burner up to high just to get it to a boil. But if you're going to do that, stick around in the kitchen. Don't leave it. Because you want to turn it down really quickly, because it'll burn easily. That's why I usually start it off on a low heat, because I don't want it burning. But it will come up to a simmer eventually. Okay. So I'm just going to, let this come up to a simmer. Cook time all depends on how you want it. Okay, so if you want it thicker, cook it longer, etc. I decide by the consistency. Okay, so I have my potato masher here. So when the apple's softened enough, I'm going to put this, mush it up. And I can, sometimes I'll make it very smooth. Sometimes I leave a little bit of chunks. Sometimes I make it chunky. It all depends on my mood. Also, I'm going to leave this water here, extra water, in case that thickens up more than I want. Then I will put some more water in. Now, as for my seasoning, spices, I'm going to wait until I'm further along in the cooking process. So I will get back to you when I'm further along. Stick around. I will show you what I'm going to do next. So I have been simmering this for about, I'd say 20 minutes to half an hour. And I have been using my potato masher to mash it down. It's coming along really good. I don't know if I can I don't know if you can see. It's a little hard like this. It's not going to work. But I'll show you later what it looks like. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add my spices. Taking the easy way out today, because when I was at a local farm where I buy a lot of my stuff, she had pumpkin pie spice on sale. And this is just a mixture of the different spices that I typically put in my apple pies, my pumpkin pies, sweet potato pie, applesauce, pretty much across the board. I'll tell you what, if I didn't have this, I have everything that's in here in my spice cupboard, so I would just put it in individually. But this has cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, allspice, and cloves. So if you don't have this and you have all these other spices, throw those in. And again, I don't measure. I don't measure anything. So my daughter-in-law found this in the cupboard. She's like, "Ooh, are you going to make pumpkin pie?" I said, "Yeah, I will eventually." So I've already used quite a bit of this because I've made some pies and applesauce and stuff. But I have on my outdoor decorations for fall, I have 2 pumpkins out there that are pie pumpkins. So I'm going to make one of those for Thanksgiving. And then I'll just make another one just for, my immediate family. And then I'm going to make sweet potato pie, and apple pie. And I only buy the produce from farms. I don't buy them from the grocery store. That's just my thing. Some people are vegetarians and vegans, gluten-free, whatever. My thing is, I do my best to eat everything that's from a farm. So, for Thanksgiving, I believe right now I'm having 13 to 15 people, one being a child. I believe my great-nephew is about 6, somewhere around there. And I have to tell you, young people, it seemed like it was just a second ago that I was a young mother in my 20s. And now, here I'm saying my great-nephew is 6 and dropping hints to my son and daughter-in-law that I want to be a grandma, stuff like that. It goes by just like that. If you're young, let me tell you, you are not going to believe. You get to be late 50s, 60, and you're going to be going, what the hell happened? It just goes by really quick. So, I'm going to let this simmer, let my spices meld in a little bit more, and then I'm going to taste it and see if it has enough sugar. And remember, I only use raw sugar, honey, or maple syrup. Oh, it comes out really good with those two, especially honey. But anyways, I'm going to taste it and see if it has enough spice. See if I need to add any more. And probably mush it up a little bit more. I think I want this batch a little bit softer, a little bit finer. Okay? So, stay tuned because I'm going to show you what it looks like when I'm done. Okay, so my applesauce is complete. I did end up adding a little bit more raw sugar and some more spices. And then I did add my leftover batches here, so I have plenty as a side dish for Thanksgiving. So I'm going to put this in a container after it cools down a bit, and I'm going to label it applesauce for Thanksgiving only so that it does not get eaten and we have it. So this should be plenty, I think. So I have other things I'm going to be doing to prepare ahead of time. I will let you guys in on that because what I have learned over the years is cooking everything at the last minute is exhausting and time consuming. So I'll leave you with that. Blessed be, and make it a joyful one.